I saw a video yesterday. I'm just going to go on a little rant right now. Well, not a rant, it's just fact. My camera person need to pee. I was just indicated, can we have a 5-minute break? I completely understand. You know, it's very hard to find good help nowadays with no bathroom break. But oh, we're good. Oh, we're rolling. So
When I'm performing, never boring, now you can't afford it. Champagne Perrier, Vintage friends on my face, looking like I'm from the deep. These no Cartiers, pockets deep, 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 bro. I can make it in my seat.
well, guys, don't know where to start this morning, but this delicious breakfast was brought to you by Miss Larry Chapados. And I am your host, Shawn Rhoden. So we're gonna go in for a taste test to see how does this work? Like, what's the combination? Do I need to mix? Sauce is good. Apples remind me of Cracker Barrel. But still, this is delicious. Stack of these.
Your steak omelet. Just a typical.
And open a diner, folks. I saw a video yesterday. I'm just going to go on a little rant right now. Well, not a rant, it's just fact. I saw this video yesterday, and I reached out to Cedric, and I was like, oh, man, like, dude, I remember being at National and watching you winning your pro card, and I remember saying to myself, like, holy fuck, like, this guy looks freaking believable. Like, you know, he'll probably win the Olympia next year. That was my mentality watching him, you know, because I won my pro card early in the year. But I just saw his physique, and I remember saying, and I'm like, this guy is incredible. Like, he's going to win every show, you know, that he ever enters. So I sent the video to Cedric, and I'm like, bro, I was here, I was watching this shit, and I remember thinking, dude, it's incredible. And he replied to me, yeah, then I got my pro card. Which is what normally happens. You know, we're all great amateurs, and then we turn pro, and then it's a different ball game. Like, you turn pro, and then you're at the bottom of the totem pole. Like, you're starting all over. It doesn't matter how great your physique is. You know, you have to have the mindset that no matter how good you are as an amateur, it doesn't matter how many asses you kick and how many shows you win, that, you know, turning pro, you have guys that's been doing this a lot longer than you. And I think a lot of guys get messed up in the head when they start out at a block and they don't do great. Like, I won my pro card, and my first pro show, I got my ass handed to me. You know, I did not place. My group of guys was, and the rest of you guys step forward. But for every experience like that, I think there's something to be taken from it, is that, like, what did you learn during that competition? Like, you know, what were the other guys doing that you weren't doing? You know, the guys that's been doing it a lot longer. Because I think sometimes a lot of the mistake we made is at the last minute, or being backstage pumping up. But the entire time I was like, I went back and I tried to figure out, you know, like, what didn't I do? Like, what were they doing that I wasn't doing? Like, I'm a pro just like anybody else. The key thing is not to get discouraged, because a lot of guys create, and at that moment because they just feel as if they're not good enough. It's not that you're not good enough, it's that there's still things that you need to learn. And for me, it was just a huge learning curve because I haven't competed in many years. And in the space of a couple of months, I went from, going through what I was going through with, being an alcoholic and what's not. And then here I am now and, I'm doing my first pro show. I don't know much. I had a coach that, we're not going to touch that. We can save it for another day. But it was just a different learning experience, and I needed to take notes of everything that was going on. From the time I start my prep to whatever was going on peak week to, whatever was going on backstage, and I had to go back and revisit all that, and ask myself, like, what didn't I do? And I think, the new guys, the new girls that's coming in, we all want to win. We all think that we should win. We all think that we have the best physique. But at some point, you're going to have to break out the pen and the paper and say...
Wait, does people think that, really? They
Yeah.
have the best physique?
Everybody has the best physique. That's the mindset. You're like, the reason why I turned pro, because I have the best physique. Everybody looks good by themselves. When you're in your gym or you're at home and you look in the mirror, you're the best person on the planet at that moment.
Really?
Yes, that's the mentality. You're like, fuck, I look great. But then you have to remember, every man and woman look great standing by themselves until they stand next to someone, they're being judged. And I think for me, it was an eye-opener after my first pro show. It was like standing there, and I could tell you, like, my first pro show was Dallas Europa. There was Cedric, Bill Wilmore. Who else was in that show? Joel Stubbs, Issa Hobiat. Oh, man, it was stacked. I remember it was like the last show, I think, before to qualify for the Olympia. I don't know why I didn't choose that show. But again, I thought I looked great at home. And, Mark Alvisi. And, I went to Dallas and got my ass kicked. And, there's still things you could do. You could quit. You could embrace it. And I flew back home. Didn't get a placement. And I had to realize that I wasn't the best. But I learned a lot from that show. I learned a lot. And I went back to that same show a year later and qualified for the Olympia. But great amateurs make okay pros. And at some point, you'll have to, I know they say they pay your dues, but I don't think it's paying your dues. It's just a learning curve that you have to get with that curve and watch your body mature, watch your body grow, and go from there. Like, don't take anything too personal. And some of us learn a lot quicker than others. Some of us just happen to have a great coach that is able to steer us in the right direction. My fortune changed when I met Chris Aceto. And, he, even though I went to the Olympia, the Olympia was my third pro show. I learned a lot more after I came on board with Chris, and, Chris he taught me a lot. Like my first pro win, I was only 228 pounds. But it was a different 228, and, there's just a lot to be learned. Like, don't be discouraged, because you don't do great, you don't do well your first couple of shows, or you didn't win, or, you didn't place the way that you should have placed. Everything is a learning experience, and at some point or another, you don't take anything away from the competitions, you'll never advance, plain and simple. Me and Cedric had a good laugh about this yesterday because, coming out of the gate and, winning, him winning the overall at National, you'd think, he'd have won every show afterwards, because I think that was the mindset that I have after watching him. But we came to understand that, you turn pro and everything changed after you get the pro card. It's what you do with that pro card. So folks, all I'm trying to say is don't be discouraged. Go out there, fight the good fight. Do what you need to do to get to where you've never been. And have a healthy mindset. Your first show, it doesn't determine where you're going to end up. Your first show will determine that you've crossed the line and stick your feet in the water, and now it's time for you to try to go the rest of the way without thinking that, you know, it's the end of all. The best is yet to come.